So today we're going to be continuing to play Doodle Empires. Now in the last Doodle Empires video, we started on a new map and we made this new map of France, which so far has been pretty filled in. As you can see, it also reaches all the way down to Africa, over here to Italy, up into Denmark, and even into England. And in this video, of course, we are going to be continuing to doodle on this map. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers relatively soon. As you can see, the background has officially changed. Like I said in previous videos, I am moving and I have officially done that. I'm still working out the camera angle, still working out on setting up the rest of my equipment, which is like the soundproofing and the big lights. So the face cam for this video isn't going to be as good as the upcoming videos are going to be. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight back into the game. So we are still in the Age of Division. We have 2 turns left here, meaning that some countries that we select, like the East Brittany country here, is probably going to split. So let's go ahead and select them, draw a card, and like I said, they are probably going to be splitting. So let's go ahead and create Southeast Brittany, and we're going to put them in this little quarter between the brown team and the green team here, taking about half of the brown country. We are going to put their capital right around here, which I believe is Redon. So they get their capital city. And for our next country, we get red France, and they're going to be getting a medium expand. So that will officially end the Age of Division and bring us into a period which doesn't have any particular events happening. So as we all know, there's the Age of Conflict, there's the Age of Division, and those kind of dictate what kind of cards you pull in this game. So red France is now extended all the way down here to the border of the pink team. They're mostly following this river here in France. But now, speaking of the pink team, we do get them as our option, and they're going to be getting a small expand. So let's go ahead and put them over here in these Spanish Isles. We'll give them the big one in the middle, and we actually might be able to give them all of them, which we do. So let's continue to expand them down the Spanish coast, now wrapping down over here towards the southern coast of Spain. We now finally get a Danish country. We get the orange one, and these guys are getting a large expand. So I don't want them to necessarily invade their northern neighbors just yet, so we're going to extend them across the Danish Isles over towards Sweden. And we're also going to start to expand them down into the German areas of Denmark. Well, there is no German areas of Denmark. Well, there is a German area of Denmark, but past that area, now going into actual Germany. Somehow we get red France again, so let's go ahead and draw a card for them, and they get another large expand. So theories in the comments. I do believe that Napoleon has somehow managed to get himself into this universe, and he is now invading all of Western Europe, which is pretty much what he did in real life. But red France will now extend over to this border. Let's also go ahead and expand their bank around this river. Extend their land around this river. We now get blue France, and they're going to get a small expand. So with that, I think we're just going to go ahead and fill in this white area here in the center of France. I really don't want to have any wars happen just yet because there's still a lot of unclaimed land in central France. We now get the Galicia country, and we're going to get a new nation. So we could put these guys pretty much anywhere on this map, but I think we're going to go ahead and come over here to this part of Italy. Actually, let's be a little bit more specific. Let's bring them over here to Croatia. And here we're going to form the Croatian country, if you couldn't guess already. But we'll mainly just focus them on the coastal areas of the Adriatic Sea, and then we'll give them a capital here in Pula. Green France is the next country we draw, and they're going to get a small split. So I think the area which should split away is probably down here, south of this river. Now, realistically, rivers don't really cut up countries and, like, you know, make divides happen, but we are kind of early on, so that kind of stuff is more likely than not, especially like comparing it to modern day. Now this is a small split, so it's not going to be super huge. So let's go ahead and put them like near the Bay of Biscay. Kind of just maybe push them towards the southern end of this river, maybe go past it up towards this river. And there we go. So these guys' name is up in the top right corner. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because the last time I tried to pronounce a French city, I got yelled out by French people. So yeah, sorry France, I won't be saying any more of your guys' names, but we will have to give them a capital, which is Bordeaux. So I lied. Anyway, for our next country here, we get the yellow country over here in Italy. I have named them Liguria, and they're going to get a medium expand. So let's go ahead and fill in the rest of Corsica. Let's also give them a little bit of a larger border with the pink and red teams, and that's all we're going to do. It's only a small expand. But we come over here to Croatia again, and they're going to set us into the Age of Unity. So this will last 20 turns, and basically what this era does is it makes countries want to unite with each other. So more likely than not, we're going to see a bunch of unions form. Starting out in England though, we're going to draw a card for them, and we're immediately going to get a new nation. And I feel like we need to go ahead and introduce Scotland into this universe. So let's go ahead and color all of the north of the British Isles in, and we'll put their capital over here in Aberdeen. Next country we get is actually Brittany, which I believe is the oldest country on this map, if not one of the oldest. But they're going to be getting a medium expand, which means they can finally get themselves out of the tip of Brittany and start to invade into these other countries. So despite it being the Age of Unity, Brittany is going on a conquest here. They're going to be invading this country here that just broke away from the brown country. But they're not done there, because they will also be taking a little bit of territory from that very brown country, making them a microstate essentially. Redden will now be declassified to a major city of the yellow team and not the capital city of the previous country. Next up, we get East Brittany, and they're going to be building a castle. So, yeah, it's going to be Fort Denan, and honestly, I think that city might be a little bit like further down here. So that's not even like the correct name of the fortress, so my bad. But we do get Denmark again. They're gonna get a new leader, so we're gonna go ahead and select them again anyway. These guys are now conquerors and mountaineers, and they're gonna get a small split. So this Age of Unity thing really isn't very united now, is it? But we are going to be giving limited independence to these further away Danish isles. Okay, I messed up. That looks horrible. But these guys' name, as you can see, is whatever this is. I'm not gonna pronounce it. I don't know any Danish. But what I do know is that their capital city will be over here in Copenhagen, which is right there. That is probably the most confident placement I have of any city, because Copenhagen is very easy to spot on the map. It's just kind of right above this little C-shaped thing. I believe we call that a bay. Anyway, now back over to Scotland, and they're going to be building a castle, something that Scotland actually is really good at. So we're going to place it right around here, and we're going to call it Fort Westhill, which if you don't know, what I do with the fortress names is I just like take a nearby town in the actual country and just name the fort after that town. So like, for example, there's like Fort Valais. There's an actual town in France named that, and it's kind of in this area. So that's just kind of how that works. Anyway, we do get this new country over here we just formed, and we are going to be disregarding them and forming a new nation. So I have a fun idea. Let's go ahead and create Prussia. Coming over here to where present-day Kaliningrad is, in Poland and Lithuania, we can go ahead and create ourselves Prussia. Now I know that it doesn't exist anymore, and it kind of has evolved into Germany in some way, but it is a little bit of a throwback, so I think we can have a little bit of fun with this. I am, however, going to keep up with the trend of using real-life city names, so we're not going to go ahead and change Kaliningrad back to its original name that was in Prussian or German. We're going to keep it as the Russian name Kaliningrad, and that's because, once again, I want to keep the modern city names instead of using historical ones, even though we have a historical country here technically. Anyway, we now get England, and they're going to get a new leader, so we're going to go ahead and select them once again, and they're going to get a large expand. So finally, England can leave this southern area of the island and start moving north. So let's go ahead and bring them up around this curve here and fill in this area for them. We'll also go ahead and follow the rest of this river, and we will meet up over here with the other portion of the island and take pretty much almost all of the southern coast, but also making a horrible border because I can't pay attention to the brush size for some reason. We now get the red country again, and they're going to be getting a new nation. So once again, the Age of Unity doesn't really seem to be too united because there hasn't been a single union yet, which is supposed to happen in this age. But I did tweak the sliders. Now the last video was like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, so I don't really remember exactly what I did with the Unity. There's a chance that I bumped it down. Maybe that's why we're not seeing too much stuff. Anyway, let's go ahead and form Sweden over here where Sweden is in real life. I mean, I wouldn't put Sweden anywhere else. And very similar to some of the other nations we've created so far, we're just gonna kind of snake them around the coastal areas because early on civilization kind of depended on, you know, being near water, and there's obviously a ton of water near Europe, the whole ocean. But you also have to think like, how did they get to Sweden? Most likely there was some Prussians that sailed across the Baltic Sea, made a landing, and then they just kept exploring north. So that's how we have this colony, if you want to call it that. But their capital city will be over here where Stockholm is. So once again, that is another realistic capital city. We do have a few at this point, such as Copenhagen and Denmark, Stockholm and Sweden, technically Kaliningrad and Prussia, and then there's Paris, France, London, England, Barcelona, Catalonia, and I think that might actually be it. But speaking of this country, it seems that every time that I mention this country, when not, you know, having it as a turn, it just comes up as the next turn. But they're getting a large expanse, so these guys are going to go crazy. I think what I want to do with them is kind of have them as this Mediterranean empire thing. So let's go ahead and give them a colony over here in Sardinia. Let's also continue to expand them down the southern Spanish coast and bring them over to Gibraltar and maybe even into the tip of Morocco. So these guys are kind of like a Western Roman Empire at this point. Let's also connect them up with the border of the green team. And then just to end it off, we'll give them a little bit more land in Sardinia. But now we get the green team, and they are going to get a small expand. So once again, we haven't gotten a single union in the Age of Unity, which is very, very strange. The chances of that, even with sliders, is probably very low. But we do start to fill in a little bit more of central France here, which has been a goal of mine since the first video on this map. Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. Alright, and now back up to England. They're going to get a small expand. So we can correct this border and push them further up into mainland England. And they'll look something like this. We now get Prussia, and they're going to get a union. So this is going to be interesting. I think I will go ahead and do this union. Let's unite them with Sweden. So we get a Prussian-Swedish union. I don't know what that would be called. If you have a name for that, if you have a cool name for that, let me know in the comments. But Stockholm will be demoted to just just a major city. Kaliningrad will be the main capital of this thing since it is Prussia that formed the union. It was their turn, so I don't think it would be fair to move their capital city. But we now come over to Nordjylland. I have been told that it means North Jutland. I thought it meant just Northland. But the Danish viewers in the comments, they did correct me, so thank you guys for that. Anyway, these guys are going to be getting a split. How lovely. And I actually do not believe that there is a region or province here. I think this entire thing is just Nordjylland. So like there's really no realistic name I can give these guys. So we're just going to call them, and hear me out on this, West Nordjylland, because why not? There is, however, a city over here that we can name their capital after, and that is Thisted. So there we go. We now come over back to Brittany, and they're going to get it split. How lovely. So technically we can now re-release this country over here, which if I remember correctly was just East Brittany. We are going to change their color though, just so we can blend the colors a little bit better. They're going to be a dark purple country now, but I guess the yellow team's annexation of this country just didn't go well, and they have split away again. It also means that we can re-upgrade Redon to a capital city again. We now get blue France, and they're going to be building a castle. So let's put this thing right around here, and this is going to be Fort Orleans. It's roughly where the town/city is. Once again, if I don't place these towns or cities perfectly, I do apologize for that, because it's kind of hard to translate the Google Maps projection into this game's projection, which is very unique to itself, I believe. But this is like relatively correct. We now come back over here to West Nordjylland, and they are going to be building a castle as well. Now, we are now notably out of the Age of Unity, which was full of absolutely zero unity. In fact, it was mostly just new civilizations popping up and wars. So yeah, we now get West Nordjylland, which just came back, and they're going to be adopting a religion. Now, technically, they're already a part of the yellow religion here, so I don't think it would make much sense to change that religion. So we're just gonna, make them re-adopt the same religion, which of course is yellowism. Now for Croatia, we enter into the Age of Division, which is never a good thing. Let's go ahead and draw a card for them, and of course they're gonna be splitting. So of course we have to make ourselves South Croatia, since they are splitting away from original Croatia, and I think something like that will do. Their capital city will be over here in Zadar. And just to kind of give ourselves a quick little overview of the map so far, this is what we're working with. So as you can see, there are a few hotspots in the world. Most notably there's France, but the British Isles have 3 of their own civilizations. Denmark notably has 4 civilizations. Then we have the Prusso-Swedish Union over here, and of course Prussia and Sweden. And then Italy also has a few things going for it. Notably there is the yellow Italian country, the pink team has a colony in Sardinia, and then there's actually 2 Croatian countries, but this one is also technically Italian as well, maybe a little bit Slovenian. And then of course there's also the Algerian country down here, which has formed themselves a very nice little coastal claim along the southern Mediterranean coast. Hopping back into this though, we now select Brittany, and they are going to get a medium expand. So they're going to be sending their armies over here into the territory of the brown team here, and they're going to be invading and taking over this fort here, which will use a lot of pixels. So I learned recently that the fortresses, they actually make it harder to invade certain lands. The yellow team is also going to be taking back a little bit of land that they lost to the breakaway country of the purple team, but not a whole lot. Most notably though, they're going to be crossing the ocean and making a landing in southern Ireland and setting up an Irish colony. Now, I want to use the word colony very lightly because we're not actually at the point where countries can really do colonies, because as you can see, there's a ton of unclaimed land, especially over here in Eastern Europe, which by the way, if these videos continue to do as good as they're doing, we will continue to fill this map up and play this game. So once again, if you haven't already, make sure to show some support on this video. You can leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, share this video with a friend, comment with your input or responses to anything I've asked. Any stuff like that helps us out greatly. But back to the video, we're going over here to the Copenhagen country. They're going to get a large expand. So obviously we're going to kick the orange country out of this place. They should never have been here in the first place. We're also going to go ahead and expand them into Sweden, taking over this southern area, and also expanding them into Germany and taking the northern coast from them. So this is what the brown team is looking like so far, and honestly they look really good. I don't know why, but I really mess with how these borders are looking. Maybe it's because their capital city is so centric to their empire, so like, Copenhagen's right there in one of the straits to the Baltic Sea, so obviously there's a lot of trade going through there maybe, and that would help out their economy a lot. Well, they also controlled the southern tip of Sweden and the northern coast of Germany, so they're looking pretty good so far. We now get green France, and they're getting a split. This is going to be huge. Of course, we're in the Age of Division, so this was bound to happen eventually. It just kind of sucks that it's one of these large countries, and the green team obviously is one of the strongest countries on this map, probably behind the red team and the pink team, but that's still number 3. But this country's name will be whatever that is in French, and they're going to be having a pretty interesting looking border. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to take over this entire region of France. Ideally, I'd like them to, but we might end up with a little bit of border gore here. Let's see. All right, no, we're good. Always a good day when we don't have border gore. But as you can see here, the green team lost a ton of land to their breakaway country here. These guys' capital city will also be the name of their country because this region of France, I believe, belongs to whatever this French name is. I got yelled at last time for trying to pronounce it, so I will not be doing it again, guys. Don't worry. I got a small split for this little guy up here. I don't think we're going to do that. They're too small to split up. We now get blue France, and they're going to be building yet another castle. These guys have 3 castles already. They're about to have a 4th one, which means, you know, they're going to be hard to invade at least. But their new fortress will be over here near this major city of the red team. So I would like to imagine here that they're building a majority of their fortresses on the red team's border because the red team, of course, is the strongest country on this map. They have the most military capability, so you want to make sure that your defensive forces are aligned on their border, and that's exactly what the blue team has done thus far. They're also having a pretty cool standoff with the yellow team over here between Fort Danan and Fort Prussia, but now we get Liguria again, and they're going to get a large expand. So we could go ahead and continue to move them down the Italian coast. Let's also go ahead and put them in Sardinia to create some tension with the pink team over the colonization of this island. Actually, we might go ahead and just fill in the rest of it like this. So now Sardinia is filled in completely, but it is split between 2 major countries. We're also going to push them up against the Alpine mountains up here, maybe follow this river, and there we go. We now get South Croatia, and they are going to get a new leader, which means we can select them again, and they get a large expand. So instead of having them invade their northern neighbor, let's go ahead and push them further down the Balkan coast. Not really going into the mountains, but going down over here into Albania and filling in this area. And let's also put them in the heel of Italy, and then give them a few coastal colonies around this area. Oh no, that's not fun. That's no good. But there's nothing I can do about it. We now get Galicia, and they are going to get a medium expand. I cannot tell you how many times that I have selected this country and they've gotten just a bad pool and I haven't shown it. And you know, I don't usually like not show things. It's just like whenever it ruins something, or like in my opinion it ruins something, I don't really show it. But finally, they can expand and they are now looking a little bit better. We get Prussia now, and they're going to get a large expand. So obviously we need to fill in this central island here to kind of make their union make a little more sense. But we can also get them this island near Denmark and expand their coast down to the brown team, so they now have contact with each other. Let's also go ahead and give them more land on the northern Polish coast. Let's also start to move them inland a little bit, following this river here and filling in a lot of this vacant area that's been unclaimed. So Prussia is now looking something like this, whereas they're actually called Prussia, Sweden. We get England again, and they're getting a medium expand. So what I've learned from this game so far is that the ages mean literally nothing, but mostly this age has just been expansion. Like, this map has become very filled in this video, as you can see. But we get Normandy once again, and they're getting another castle. Yeah, these guys like to build castles apparently. They had 3 at the start of the video, they built another, and now they're about to have 5. The most castles by any country. But their next fort will be right here, and it's going to be Fort Lisieux? I might be too American for these names. No, in fact, I am way too American. Well, let's take a quick peek at the fortress map, and as I guessed, this thing is very fortified. So pretty much all of the blue team, I think, is fortified. Every little teal area you see means it has extra defense. And also, all of their fortresses are on the border of the red team, who hasn't actually invaded anyone yet, I don't believe. There's also the origin map we can take a quick peek at. So as you can see, most of the countries originated from the red team, but there are a few civilizations here and there that kind of popped up on their own. And then there's the religion map, which honestly hasn't moved too much. There's only a handful of religious countries, and most of them are in France. None of the countries over here really have religion just yet. Even in Italy, there's no religion. I kid you not, I just got 3 splits in a row with Galicia, and that was just now. I have gotten splits with the Galicia 3 other times in this video, so they really want me to split up Galicia for some reason. Let's try again. Large expand. Now we're talking. No, I'm not favoriting any kind of countries. I think it's just unfair that the game really wants me to split Galicia this bad. And no, I don't think Galicia should be split, so let's just expand them. For the most part, let's just move them inland. I don't really want to expand them into Portugal. We'll keep them to like this hilly, mountainy kind of area. And there we go. They are definitely looking good. I randomly select them again. I don't think so. Let's get let's get Algeria up in here. Medium expand. Okay, so finally Algeria can do something. They have like done nothing the whole series so far. Let's go ahead and bring them into the tip of Tunisia, but I will stop there because I mostly want to move them inland. So like we'll push them all the way up against this mountain range a little bit, and that's all we're going to do apparently. All right, and for our final turn of this video, we are going to select France, and they're going to get a small expand. It definitely might have been a little bit more interesting if they had gotten like a large expand, or maybe even like a medium expand, but we'll work with the small expand. We'll go ahead and fill in some of this area that still remains and some of this area that is still needed to be filled in, but there's nothing I can really do about that. That is up to the game. Anyway, like I said, that was the last turn of this video. So if you guys did enjoy today's Doodle Empires video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers relatively soon. I don't really have an exact date in mind just yet, if we even need a date to get there. More so of just, you know, keep subscribing if you're new and you like the content. Most importantly, if you like the content, but also if you are already subscribed, maybe share the channel with a friend or family member who would be interested in this kind of content. Maybe if they're not interested, just, you know, tell them to check it out anyway. You never know. Once again, I did say at the beginning of the video, I will say it again now, I have officially moved out of my old house. I'm now living in a new place. This is the new background. Now, not this specifically. This is definitely going to change. In fact, I think that the angle of the camera is going to change too. So instead of something like this, it's going to look something like this, which is a different angle, but I think this is like the original angle, so this might work a little bit better for us. I know I'm facing the wrong way right now. I'm working on it. I need to get the foam up. I need to get my lights up because it's kind of echoey in here, and I think it might affect the video a little bit. So I do apologize for that. But yeah, I got to get back to unpacking. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all hopefully in the next Doodle Empires video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Sermonator, Static FN, Jazzy Chill Turn Mapping, CTG on YT, Omega the YouTuber, Vista Napper, Garbage Trucks, Pro WICSO, 7353, Gamer, RS, Australian Geo Mapping, Augusto, Norwegian, Gail Martinez, Freezioid, Laser Tase, Pablo Sigma Cat, 45, Death Strider X, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.